श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। ॐ सुखं नित्यं स्वप्राशं व्यापकं नामरूपयोः अधिष्ठानं बुद्ध्यबोद्धं बुद्धेर्दृक्यत्तु निर्मलम् अपारं सर्ववेदान्त वेद्यं प्रत्यक्परं महः तदेवाहं न मत्तोऽन्यत् इति मे निश्चिता मतिः. Yesterday we were seeing Akhyati, the school of Akhyati, and even then we didn't even start the Akhyati, what Akhyati means. We were using the Akhyati fellow to condemn all the other three fellows. First we condemned the Asat Khyati Vada. Asat means non-existence, Khyati means knowledge or experience or explaining, whichever. So the system which talks about non-existence. Non-existence means not talking about non-existence. Non-existence as the cause for creation. What we are discussing? We are discussing the rope snake. How did the snake come into existence? That is what we want to know. How did the snake appear there? How does it get perceived? So, for that, this fellow, the voidist, the Buddhist, the Shunyavadi, he said, no problem. Everything is void. From void comes void. From void goes into the void. There is nothing. Before there was nothing. Later there will be nothing. In between also there is nothing. This is their logic. Adau antau yennasti madhyepi tat tata. Their teacher, their one of the foremost teachers of the voidist Buddhism, Nagarjuna, he says in his Karika, Adau antau yennasti madhyepi tattatha. Whatever didn't exist in the beginning, whatever doesn't exist later, is same in the middle also, meaning it does not have any existence. So he proposes the idea of Shunyavada. The whole problem with many of these religions and philosophies based on that religion is it is not proposed by the one who began the religion. That's the problem. It was proposed by someone after. This Buddhism, whatever you see as Buddhism, has nothing to do with Buddha. People think we are following Buddha. You are not following Buddha. You are following someone who says this is what Buddha said. And that too when? Not immediately after his death, after 300 years of death, meaning 6-7 generations have passed by. 6-7 generation. I'm not talking about 100 years per person. No, not even 80, because the lifespan was around 30-40. So 5-6 generations have passed by, and after 300 years of Buddha, they all sat together to decide what is the teaching of Buddha democratically. And they voted, they had 3 boxes, that is called as Tripitika. It's called Tripitika, 3 boxes. Buddha proposed this, Buddha taught this, Buddha is teaching is this. That's what they all decided, and each one took their box and said, we won. And they started their own religion. That is how it is. They did everything democratically, but they didn't conclude it democratically. Or probably they concluded it democratically. Whoever has the box, he wins. So the thing is, this Shunyavadin it is a proposal by one of the foremost teachers of Buddhism called Nagarjuna. Acharya Nagarjuna is a very known name in Buddhism. Okay, so he says void is everything. There is nothing other than void. Okay, so now he says this snake which you see came from void. Actually, you don't understand. The rope also is void. There is no rope, there is no snake, only void exists. That is what greatest amount of oxymoron. If you say a best oxymoron, you will find many beautiful words. I say the best oxymoron is divine love. But the word here, he says absence, non-existence exists. What can be more oxymoron than that? So he says non-existence is the cause for everything. Okay, now next, that is not possible. Non-existent cannot be cause for anything. That is not possible because no one has seen that non-existent being cause for something. No one has seen that. But if you tell this to the Buddhist, he'll say, "What? Don't give me that. Everything comes from non-existence. I can prove that. Please." Okay. What is this? This is a seed. Okay. If I'm going to sow this, what will happen? Tree will come. How do you think tree will come? Where was this? Where is the seed now? Seed is gone. See, seed became non-existent and tree came. No, you don't understand. See, you don't understand. It came from seed. Seed is existent. And from existence came the tree, which is also existence. I've heard this story. Don't sell this to me. Why? Because what is this seed? This is a wheat seed. What is this seed? This is a coconut seed. Let us see. So there is a mango seed, there is wheat seed, there is coconut seed. 3 seeds I have taken. I am now sowing all these 3 seeds. From the wheat seed, what will I get? Of course, wheat. From the coconut seed, I will get the coconut. And the mango seed, of course, mango. But wait, you said everything has existence, right? Everything comes from existence. So if the coconut seed and the mango seed and the wheat seed have common thing existence from which you say everything comes in, then if I sow coconut seed, I should have to reap mangoes, or I'll be reaping something else. I don't know. Babies probably plucking from the tree. We don't know what happened because everything has existence. So everything came from non-existence. Their logic is kind of close to impeccable. Very logical they are. Even, see, they say method to madness or genuineness even in stealing. That is what they are. Very genuine in establishing illogical things. Very logical in that. So that is not possible. What do we say? That non-existence cannot be the cause for anything because we have not experienced that in the world. So what you said is not right. Okay, comes the Buddhist. What? We have already said exit to Buddhist. No. That is widest Buddhist. I am Vijnanavadi Buddhist. Buddhi Buddhist, let us say. Intellect Buddhist. So what are you going to say? He says, everything came from movement. A second, that Vijnana which exists for a second, from that secondary Vijnana knowledge, my mind, everything came into existence. Everything has existence inside, in mind for a second. That 1 second existence is what you see in the external world. That is not acceptable. Why? 1 second, even before I see it outside, which is second, it is gone. You are calling something like a supernova, seeing a supernova. First second it existed, and outside, where before it comes, it is non-existent. And what I'm seeing is non-existent still. So whatever I answered for the first fellow holds good for you. No. This is what you see internally. You think you are seeing it outside. That's a good answer for him from him. The problem is it stays for only a second. But the rope snake does not stay for a second. The rope itself does not stay for a second. It is for our whole life. This is the biggest problem. Rope snake is an example for this world. So this is an example we use and we negate. No, it is impossible because there is a continuity. Whatever existed for a second cannot have this kind of continuity until it is negated. The snake exists in the rope. Until the erroneous knowledge is negated, the snake exists. So this Vijnanavadi, this Kshanikavadi, the fellow who says everything is for a second, in that which sprung in the mind for a second is what is this snake or rope, etc. That cannot be accepted. That cannot be accepted. Third comes Anyatha Kshyativadi. Anyatha Kshyativadi. What does he say? No. You are seeing it otherwise. Anyatha means otherwise. What does that mean? The one which you saw in the shop, that silver is what you are seeing here. Or the snake which you saw, which exists, not saw, which exists in the garden. He's not even saying the one which you saw. The one which exists in the shop is what you see here. The one which exists on the ant hill is what you see here. That is what the first Anyatha Kshyativadi proposed, the knowledge otherwise. But he himself, another Anyatha Kshyativadi, meaning the neo-logician explained the old logician that you are not wrong. If by breaking the borders and breaking the boundaries, I am going to see things, how will you be able to see things? So simple. Because of the defective eye sees everything. Then we said, no. Defective eye will have reduction of the power, not extra power. For that we said, no, this need not be always the case. Sometimes there be extra power because of defect also. Where have you seen that? In Spider-Man, they don't know Spider-Man. So what he says is the defect because of pitta, the biliousness, which increases the ability to digest. So that is one example which we can say. Over. So there is example in this world. Defect increases the power. So he says that is why we see things. For that, the neo-logicians again say, see, if your eyesight becomes so powerful, then why are you just seeing the snake? You should have to bring in the anthill also here, or whatever exists in between the snake and this area. Whatever is existent, you just see all that here. The room will be filled with things. The room, in fact, in the place of rope, you will be filled with so many things. Because your eye see everything. Problem. So the neo-logician says that is not the case. That is not the case. What does he say? See, you are seeing whatever you see. That is because of the power of knowledge. But wait, that is also not possible. Why? Because logically the knowledge is dependent upon the object, not the other ways. The object is not dependent upon knowledge. I may have the knowledge of pot. That does not mean I have to see pot in front of me where there I have to see a rope. If there is a rope, I have to gain the knowledge of rope, not pot. So knowledge is dependent upon object and not object dependent upon knowledge. So everywhere you say the object which you see is the knowledge you gain of the object. It is not the knowledge you have is the object I see. No, I never experienced that kind of situation. So that idea of yours is a completely unacceptable. Chintamani-kara, the neo-logicians. So therefore, these fellows, the Sankhyan and the Prabhakara school, the Guru Mata of Purvamamsa, they say Akhyati is the Only refuge for you people. What is Akshyati? Khyati, knowledge. Is a negative suffix, prefix. So he says no knowledge. What does that mean actually? I'll explain. He says, now go to the text now. Akshyati matam. रज्जौ सर्पादि भ्रमदशायां नेत्रं स्ववृत्तिद्वारा रज्ज्वा सह संयुज्य अयमिति रज्जोः सामान्य ज्ञानं जनयति तदा सर्पस्मरणं च जायते ततः अयं सर्प इति ज्ञानं जायते. This is the 3 steps. First step is the first statement. Second step is the second statement. Third step is the third statement. First step. Rajjo Sarpadi Brahmadashaya. In the rope, when I have the erroneous knowledge of a snake, etc., the eye, through its activity, gets associated with the snake. Eye and snake meet. Eye and snake, the sense organ and the sense object meet. When the sense organ and the sense object meets, then I gain the general knowledge, I am this. Sense organ and the sense object meet. The logicians think sense organ and sense object meet, knowledge takes place. But these fellows say sense organ and the sense object meets, but the knowledge that takes place is general knowledge. This. Okay. Then I remember the snake. Sarpasmaranam jayate. Then I remember the snake. First, sense organ, sense object, this general knowledge. Then I remember the snake. Then the third step is this is snake. This knowledge takes place. I am sarpaha. This is snake. This knowledge takes place. Okay. Tatra. Grahana smaranatmaka jnanadvayam asti. Therefore, there are 2 knowledges here. One is perceived. The other is remembered, memory. The one is perception, the other is memory. There are 2 knowledges. Okay. So, ayam iti rajjoho samanyamsha pratyaksha jnanam. Sarpa iti tu purvanabhuta sarpasya smaranopa aparam jnanam. So, this, the general knowledge is this general knowledge is directly perceived. This general knowledge directly perceived. Snake, special knowledge, remembered, memory. This general knowledge directly perceived. Snake, special knowledge, remembered. Okay. Now, Itham ayam iti sarpaha ityatra jnanadvayamasi. In this way, when I say this is snake, there are 2 knowledges. One is general knowledge, this which is perceived, and there is a special knowledge, snake, which is remembered. Okay. So, there are 2 knowledges, special knowledge and general knowledge. When I say this is a snake, this is general knowledge, snake is special knowledge. This is perceived, snake is a memory. Okay. Now, tatra ayam iti rajjoho samanyam jnanasya purvanubhuta sarpasparana rupa jnanasya cha paramarthatve api भयरूप प्रमातृ दोषेण तिमिर रूप प्रमाण दोषेण च मम ज्ञानद्वयम् अभूत् तत्र एकं रज्जु सामान्य अंश प्रत्यक्षं सर्पस्मरण रूप ज्ञानम् अपरमिति विवेकः पुरुषस्य नोत्पद्यते. But okay, this is what knowledge? General knowledge. Snake is a special knowledge. This is directly perceived. Snake is a memory. Now I clearly know perceived, memory, direct perception, memory, pratyaksha, smarana. I clearly know this. Why do I have confusion? This is snake. I should not see the object as this is snake. This, I remember also snake. I see this and I also remember snake. I should have to have 2 parts of knowledge. Logic. I need to have 2 parts of knowledge. I see this and I remember snake. Simple. There is general knowledge, there is special knowledge, true. But I can clearly differentiate the knowledge through the direct perception and memory. So, I should be able to say, I see this and I remember the snake. 2 parts. Over. There is no confusion. Why do I say as this is snake? Why do I get confused? So, for explaining that, for not able to understand it differently, not able to separate it, segregate it, he says, Ayam iti rajjoho samanyamsha jnanasya. So, I have the knowledge of this, which is a general knowledge. Yes, okay. Now, purvanubhuta sarpasparana jnanasya and the memory which I have gained because of experience of snake earlier. So, this is perception. Is it real or not? It is real. It's a real knowledge because I'm seeing this. This is real knowledge. Now, the second part is a snake. Snake, is it real or not? If I'm asking, I'm going to ask this question, you are going to connect it with this. This is snake, and you are going to say, no, that is not real because this is rope. No. Remember, listen to this question carefully. Is the snake, which I remember because of an experience, is it real or not? The memory of snake is because of an experience, because yaya smriti sasa anubhav purvika, whatever is a memory, it is because of an experience. There can be no memory without experience. So I have experienced something, therefore I have memory. So is the snake real or not? Snake is real. Snake is real. This is real. Snake is real. This is real. Snake is real. There are two knowledges now. So he says, okay, now, though there are two real knowledges, how do I mix it up? Because there is no possibility of two knowledges taking place separately. There is no possibility of two knowledges taking place at the same time. No possibility. No possibility. No one can have two knowledges spring from his mind at the same time. Impossible. The mind can produce only one knowledge at one time, not two knowledges. Impossible. There can be no two thought function at the same time for any kind of mind. And what do I see? This snake, two knowledges. He says, that is not two knowledge. How does it become one knowledge? He says, Bhaya pramatru doshena. There are two defects here because of which I am confused. What is the first reason? The defect in me, the seer. What is the defect in me? Fear. Fear is the defect in me, the seer. Okay. Is that the only defect? No. It is also aided by the second defect. What is the defect? The defect of a pramana. The defect of means of right knowledge, which is a cataract, etc. Not proper light, cataract, everything comes into this. So there are two defects aiding the confusion. One is me and the other is my instrument. So because of this, mama jnanadvayam abhut tatra ekam rajju samanyamsha pratyaksham sarpasmarana rupa jnanam aparamiti vivekah purushasya nopet. Because of these two defects, this fellow does not understand. I gained two knowledges. Among them, one is this part, which is a general knowledge, which is directly perceived, and the other is a snake knowledge, which is a special knowledge, memory. He does not remember this because of two defects. Defect of a seer, defect of the instrument. Defect of the seer is a fear, etc. Defect of the instrument is a cataract, low light, etc. Okay. Now, etat jnana dvaya viveka eva brahma iti sankhyaha prabhakarascha vadanti. These not able to distinguish these two knowledges as separate knowledge is the erroneous knowledge here. What is the error here? Not being able to segregate. Oh, this is memory. This is my perception. Not able to segregate it. Understand it as two knowledges is the problem. Okay. So, iti vadanti. Brahmotpatti stale cha sarvatra evam eva bodhyamiti cha ahuhu. Brahmotpatti stale, in every place where you have this kind of knowledge because of some erroneous ideas, in all the erroneous places, this is how you gain the knowledge. The erroneous knowledge takes place how? There is direct perception, there is memory. You confuse them both, fuse them both, and think that it is one knowledge. That is the problem. Do you now understand Akhyati? This is Akhyati. Okay. एवं रज्ज्वादो सर्पादि भ्रम उत्पत्ति विषये मत चतुष्टयं पूर्वोक्त प्रकारेण श्रूयते. In this way, there are 4 schools of thought with reference to the snake which you see on the rope. 4 schools of thought. Okay. तत्र भवद् अभिमतम् उत्तमं मतं यत् तद् भगवत् Upadeshad jigyaseti tattva-drishti pruchati. Now tattva-drishti is presenting all this and tells, please sir, whatever is the idea of Bhagavan, you sir, among this, you please tell me. Or if it is different from that, you please tell me. He says, you bhavat abhimatam matam, uttama matam, whatever you accept, which is superior than all of this. Please tell me that. That is what I want to hear. Iti pruchati. This is the question. So, 144 to 145. In 2 topics, he is explaining Akhyati Mata Khandanam, the refutation of the school of Akhyati. Akhyati is that which we saw just now. Direct perception, memory getting fused. That is the confusion. Okay. Now, 144. Bhayapalayanadi anupatya rajjo sarpa anubhavo vachya. Bhayapalayanadi anupatya. You said fear, etc. But what we say is because of fear, running away, etc. is impossible. He said the defect, first defect is the defect of seer, which is a fear. Defect of seer is fear, because of which I am fusing the knowledge. Now he says, Vedanti says, this fear and running away, etc. is impossible. Therefore, you have to say that the experience which you have in the snake, you have to accept the experience which you have in the snake on the rope. The experience regarding the snake you have to accept on the rope. There is no escape for you. How? Hey Soumya, oh dear. Brahmasthale asatkyatihi atmakhyatihi anyatha khyati akhyati iti etat mata chatushtem api yukti virahitam. See, you explained the 4 kinds of possible knowledges which can take place in the erroneous place. All these 4, whether it be asatkyati, whether it be the Vijnanavadis, Atmakhyati, or the logicians. What did the logician accept? The 3rd one is Anyatha Khyati, and the 4th one is Akhyati. Asatkyati, Atmakhyati, Anyatha Khyati, Akhyati. All these 4, they are illogical. They are illogical. Yukti virahitam. They are devoid of logic. Puroktamata chatriya vilakshanam. How do I see the snake on the rope? So that should be answered. What you said, all those 4 schools are wrong. Leaving at that is going to cause more confusion than clarity. So the teacher says, Purokta matachadushte vilakshanam. Apart from the 4 previously explained schools, there is a 5th school, which is a Anirvachaniya Khyati Namakam. Matantaram Asti Panchamam. There is a fifth school called Anirvachaniya Khyati. Anirvachaniya Khyati. Khyati, knowledge. Nirvachana means explicable. And Anirvachaniya, Anir. If you add a prefix, which is a negative prefix, it will say inexplicable. The knowledge of inexplicable. That is the Vedantic school. So he says there is this fifth one, Tadeo Upadiyam. That is what should be accepted. The fifth school is Anirvachaniya Khyati, and that is what should be accepted, not the other schools. Even if there be another school, we don't care. None of the schools can be accepted. Why? Because you say so. No, I will explain it logically. He says, Purokta Satkhyati Purokta Asatkhyatiyadi Matatrayam Na Upadayamiti Akshyativadina Darshitam. See, all these aforesaid schools, the three schools, Asatkhyati, Atmakhyati, and Anyatsakyati, they were refuted by the Akhyati, the Sankyans and Prabhakara school. They themselves fought and they themselves resolved. Okay, only I am right. Now, there is this logic called Prathama Malla Nirvahana Nyaya, the logic of beating the top seed, beating the World Cup holder. See, if there is a boxing champion, if I beat the boxing champion in a match, I don't have to prove beating all the sundries on the road. I have beaten the boxing champion. That is enough. So now these fellows are negated by Akshativada. If I'm going to refute the Akshativada, all the others are gone already. I don't have to worry about them. So he's taking this logic and says, Akshati matamapi no upadana arhamiti arhatiti pradarshiyate aduna. We are going to establish that this Akshati who refuted all the three schools is also not eligible to be accepted. Is not a proper school. How? Akhyati mataritya. See, first remember what we studied in Akhyati. So he says, according to them, I am sarpaiti jnane. In the knowledge, this is snake. I am iti rajvatmaka adhisthana samanyamsha pratyaksha jnanam. Sarpa iti tu anyatra purva sadrishta sarpasya smaranatmak jnanam iti sthiti. There are two parts of the knowledge. I am sarpa. This snake. This is the directly perceived general knowledge. Snake is the experienced memory. This we know. Okay. Tatra purudrishta sarpasmaranam eva angikritya purovarti rajjau sarpajnana anangikare purovastita rajjum drishtva purusho bhitya na palayate. Rajjum drishtva purushaha palayate iti tu sarvajaniyam. Okay. Purudrishta sarpasmaranam eva angikritya purovarti rajjau sarpajnana anangikare. See. Tatra. See, how do you see the snake? He says, Purudrishta sarpasmaranam eva angikritya. Because of the memory of previously experienced snake. Because of accepting the memory of previously experienced snake, Purovarti Rajjo, in this rope which is in front of me, Sarpajnana Anangikare. If you don't accept the snake knowledge, he is not accepting the snake knowledge because of the memory of the past. Remember, because of my past memory, that which gets triggered after seeing the rope, that is not how he accepts her. He says there is this part and there is a snake part. They get mixed up because of the defects, errors. That is what he accepts her. So if you don't say that the snake experience is because of my past experience, the memory of the past experience, then avasthitam rajju drishtva purusho bhitya na palayate. Seeing the rope in front of me, why will I run? No one runs seeing a rope. So Rajjum Drishtva Purusha Palayate iti tu. And after seeing the rope, everyone runs. This is a experience of everyone. When he sees the snake, a rope, a snake, he runs away. If you see, if according to you, if you say he sees the I am this, which is pratyaksha, you accept that, then why will I run? I'm seeing this. You are not accepting the memory triggering the rope transforming into snake. No, you say the memory is there, the direct perception is there, they get mixed up. That is what you say. That is not possible. If that is so, then why will I run? Because that is only memory. Why will I run because of a memory? Because I am seeing this rope here in front of me. Therefore, tasmat, therefore, पुरोस्थित रज्ज्वाम एव सर्पः प्रत्यक्षतया भासते इति न तु पूर्वदृष्ट सर्पस्मरण मात्रमिति च वाच्यम्. Therefore, you have to accept the snake is seen through direct perception in front of you, on the rope in front of you. The snake is directly perceived on the rope in front of you, and the snake is not memory, a knowledge of memory. That is how you have to accept. You are seeing the real snake there, not a rope. And the snake is not something which is a memory. This is how you have to accept. Because I am running away from the snake. This is everybody's experience. Anyatha, otherwise, Rajjo Sarpajnana Bhavena Purushasya Palayana Upatete. Otherwise, since this fellow is not going to gain the knowledge of snake on the rope, he is not going to be afraid, he is not going to run away. That is what we said first. There is no possibility of him running away, having fear, etc. Why? Because that is a memory. Why will I run? Because of a memory. Oh, that was terrible. I can say that. I can shiver and I can say, oh, I saw that snake. That was terrible. I can say that, but I will not run away from this place. So, next 145. Badhajnana balat api rajjo sarpanubhavo vachyah. And because of the knowledge which you gain after the negation, the knowledge which you gain after the negation. After the negation, what do I say? I see this rope, not this snake. So, Rajjo Sarpanubhava Vachya. Based on this also, how do I gain this is rope? How do I gain this is rope? Because I am negating this is snake. Because of the power of the negation of the knowledge, this is snake. Because of power of negating the knowledge, this is snake, I have to accept that was an erroneous knowledge. So I have to say I did experience snake on the rope. Because of the power of negation, I should have to accept I experienced snake on the rope. If you didn't experience, why are you going to negate it? Who will negate something which they don't experience? I experience, therefore I negate. So, based on that negation, you have to accept there is snake. You experience snake on the rope. Kincha, moreover, Rajju Yathatmya Jnana Anantaram Mama Mithya Sarpo Rajjvam Abhat iti Badha Rupam Anubhav Valadapi Purushasya Rajjo Iva Sarpaha Surupataha Pratita. This is the topic explained this. Through the power of negation also, you have to accept you saw snake on the rope. What is that power of negation? What is that negation you are talking about? He's explaining that. Moreover, Rajju Yathatmik Jnananantaram, after gaining the real knowledge of the snake, the real knowledge of the snake, I see this is snake. At that point of time, I'm not just going to say this is snake, but for me, in this snake, there was an erroneous knowledge of, in this rope, there was an erroneous knowledge of snake. When I understand this is rope, I'm not going to just say this is rope. I'm going to also recollect, oh, what an idiot I was. I saw a snake on this rope. I'm going to comment on myself. So, iti badarupa anubhavaladapi. Because of this power of refutation, I saw a snake in this rope. This is I saw. Now I know this is rope. Because of this power of refutation, negation, purushasya rajjo eva sarpaha swarupatah praditah. The person, you should have to understand, you should not accept a person experience snake on the rope. They are not two different knowledges. He experienced snake on the rope. The rope itself was seen as snake. You have to accept that. Because only after gaining the knowledge of rope, you are able to negate that. So he says, Natu Purvanubhuta Sarpasmarna Matram Abhavati Vaktavyam. You cannot just say, I remember the snake which I experienced in the past. No one says that. No one says, I remember this snake which I experienced in the past. With reference to the rope snake. Apicha. And also, Ayam Sarpa Ityatra Jayamanam Yanam Ekameva Natu Jnanatuyam. Again, he comes to the important point. You have to understand this important thing also. The Guru tells to the disciple, you have to understand this important point also. When you said, I am Sarpaha, this is snake. What did you accept? There are two knowledges. One is directly perceived and the other is memory. There is only one knowledge. There nowhere you can see two knowledge. That's what he says. Nahi ekasmin shane ekantakarana vrittittvena smarnatmakam anubhavatmakam cha jnanadvayam jayeta. At one point of time, at any point of time, at any one point of time, with the thought function in the mind, with one thought function in the mind, there cannot be two knowledges. Impossible. One thought function cannot have two knowledges. One of a memory and other of a direct perception. Impossible. This kind of thing, having one for two, is called as Vakya Bheda Dosha in Purvamimamsa. The people of Karma, they say Vakya Bheda Dosha, defect of Vakya Bheda. What does that mean? Bheda means difference. Vakya means statement. Difference in statement. Meaning, if you accept one result for two karmas, one result, two karmas, you are going to do two action, but it is going to produce one result. That is not acceptable. Or two results for one karma. One result for two karma or two results for one karma. Whichever way, they are not going to accept that. That is not possible. One karma, one result. How can one karma produce two results or two karma produce one result? So similarly, one thought function, one knowledge. One thought function cannot, never. Yogis also. This is Sankhya school. Sankhya school is a sister concern of Yogi. They are just in this one angle. You say they are Sankhyas. The other angle they are seen as Yogins. That's all. The philosophical part is a Sankhya. The practical part is Yoga. Simple. So even Yogis don't accept who talk about the cessation of thought function. They don't accept two knowledges for one thought function. Never. So accepting two knowledge for one thought function, one being perception and the other being a memory, is impossible. Cannot be accepted. Tasmat, therefore, akshati matamapi asangatatvat anupadayam eva. Therefore, this school of Akshati proposed by the Sankhyans and the Prabhakara, they are also not possible to be accepted. They are also incapable of accepting. You cannot accept them. Puroktapatakshanam tat khandanadikam cha vivarana swarajya siddhyadi grantheshu vistarato varnitam. So, okay. Okay. But can you explain it in detail regarding this? He says, yes, they are explained in detail But we are not going to do any more detail. This is what you need to understand. If you want to know more detail, you have to refer to these two texts. One is a Vivarana. Vivarana is a commentary on Brahma Sutra, Bhashya. That is one school of Vedanta. There are two schools, primary schools. One is Vivarana and the other is Bhamati. Vivarana school, in Vivarana commentary, it is explained. Or there is one text called Swarajya Siddhi, a beautiful text by Gangadharendra Saraswati. Swarajya Siddhi. In that text, it is explained. I did refer to Swarajya Siddhi in this very retreat when I was explaining the third chapter. Where I explained was when he was talking about his guru to be, guru is greater than Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, etc. I brought in this text where at the end he takes up each deity and says, okay, Brahmaji is sitting here and there, that doing this. My Guruji is better. Shiva is doing this. He is sitting here and all. My Guruji is better. Vishnu is doing this. My Guruji is better. He explains that in the end portion of his text. So in that Swarajya Siddhi, these ideas, all these kyatis are explained in detail. Okay. So if you want, you can go under. If you want, we'll have to teach you at a later portion. Okay. Tesham matanam Surupamatra Jignasunam Jnana Saukaryartham Tad Sankshipyuktamatra. So the nature of those schools which are explained there in detail are represented here for just a kind of knowledge, just a general knowledge regarding that. That is what we have done here. Sankshipya in brief. Okay. Now 146 to 149. He says, Siddhantino Anirvachaniya Khyati Nirupnam. But wait, you said they are wrong. And you also went on to refute the Akhyati. And that is also done. But you, if I remember, you also said you have to not accept any of them. But we Vedantins have a different school of thought which is called as Anirvachaniya Khyati. You didn't speak about that. What does that mean? What does Anirvachaniya Khyati means? Knowledge of inexplicability mean? So he says, Siddhantinaha Anirvachana Khyati Nirupanam. The Vedantins Anirvachana Khyati. Anirvachana Khyati means the knowledge of inexplicability is explained. That is what we are going to explain now. Anirvachana Khyati Lakshanam. This is the definition 146. This is the definition of Anirvachana Khyati. Anirvachaniya is explained. This is the definition for Anirvachaniya. Antakarana vritti chakshuradi karanadwara bahirnirgatya vishaya samanakara bhavati. So we have repeated this again and again in different places. How do you gain the knowledge of object? How do you gain the knowledge of object? I have a flower in front of me. How do I see the flower? My mind transforms into a thought function, travels through the eyes, the sense organ, and hits the object. And when it hits the object, it removes the veiling which is covering the object, the ignorance which is covering the object, and the thought function engulfs the object, becomes the very object. How do I gain the knowledge? Mind transforms into thought function, travels through the sense organ eye, and goes and hits the object. The moment it hits the object, the veiling, the ignorance veiling, the ignorance covering the object is removed. Then the mind becomes that very object. The thought function becomes that very object. That is how we understand the object. Okay. He says, Antakarana vritti. the thought function of the mind, mean mind transforming into thought function, chakshuradi karana dwara, through the sense organ of eye, etc. Bahir nirgatya, goes externally. By going externally, Vishya Samanakara Bhavati, it becomes of the nature of the form of the object itself. That is the brief idea. The sense, the mind through the thought function travels through the sense organ and goes to the object and becomes the very object. The thought function becomes the very object. Okay. Taya Vrutya, through that thought function, Vishya Avarana Bhange Sati Vishaya Upalabhyate. Through that thought function, if the wheeling of the object, the ignorance wheeling of the object is negated, destroyed, removed, then the object is gained. The thought function should go and destroy the ignorance. If you destroy the ignorance covering the object, it becomes, the thought function takes the form of the object. The example, best example given is the river water traveling through a canal or a channel, entering the farmland and taking the shape of the farmland. If you plow the farmland square, the water will become square. If the farmland is plowed in a circle, the water will also become a circle. Whatever form, the water will take that form. Similarly, river, mind. Canal, thought function. Farmland, object. The water taking the form of the farmland, vritti taking the form of a object. This is how you gain the knowledge. Okay, now tasya vrittehe sauradi alokopi sadhako bhavati. It is not just that the sense organ travels outside and it gains. Doesn't happen. Switch off all the lights. In the dark, let us say how you are able to see the objects. No. Though the thought function goes outside the sense organ, it doesn't hit any object to remove the ignorance. Why? Because there is no light here. So the light, etc., are aids for this thought function. Without light, you cannot gain through your the light of self. The objects cannot be illumined. So he says, Alokam vina padartho na prakashte. Okay, light is there. I have put on 1000-watt lights. Fine. But I closed my eyes, or my eyes are defective. They cannot see. Can I see the object? No. Tasmad, because your mind is going to produce thought function. That is definitive. You cannot say, if the mind is not producing thought function, that is not going to happen. It is going to produce some thought function other, whether you open your eyes or close your eyes or do whatever, it is going to produce thought function without stop. So we are not going to talk about that. So the mind is producing the thought function. If you keep the eye closed, if the eyes are not proper, then it cannot travel through it. If the light is not proper, it is not going to travel through that area. So he says, Tasmat Alokaha Sahakari iti kramaha. Therefore, not just the light, also the vision. Both are aiding causes, supporting causes for you to gain the pratyaksha. Okay, the thought function, the mind transforms into thought function, travels through the eye, goes to the object, hits it, removes the ignorance veiling, then becomes engulfed. The thought function engulfs the object to become that very object. That is how you gain the knowledge of the object. For this whole series to take place, there are two supporting causes. One is the light. The other is the vision itself. This is how you gain the knowledge of object. This is what we call it as Phala Vyapti and Vritti Vyapti. We'll see it later. This is what we call as Phala Vyapti and Vritti Vyapti. We'll see about this later. Okay, now. Rajvado Sarpadi Brahma Utpatti Dashayam Antakarana Vrittir Chakshur Dwara Bahir Nirgatya Rajvasaha Sanyujyate. During the time of the erroneous knowledge of snake on the rope, during the time of the erroneous knowledge of snake on the rope, what happens? Antakarana vritti chakshurdara bahir nirgatya rajvasaha sanyujyate. Your mind transforms into thought function, travels through the eyes, and reaches the object. It has association with the object. It hits the object. Now, tathapi, still, sa tama adi doshaihi pratibadha sati na rajju samanakara bhavati. If there is a darkness etc defects, if it has an obstacle of darkness etc defects, then will the mind transform itself into rope? No. So we need not absence of light. We don't also need very powerful light. We need a kind of light which is aiding the cause. If you want to see the rope snake, the light should not be too much, or there should be absence of light. It should be a somewhat light, that's all. Somewhat light or somewhat darkness. Only then these are all conducive environments. These are all conducive environments for the erroneous knowledge to take place. Erroneous knowledge needs a conducive environment. Otherwise, the erroneous knowledge does not take place. That is why before they propose, they create an environment because erroneous knowledge needs conducive environment. So he says otherwise, if there is this absence of too much of light or absence of too much of darkness, you will not be able to gain the knowledge of a rope snake. Tataha na rajju avarana bhango jayate. Because of the darkness, the semi-darkness, the avarana, the wheeling on the rope, that is what is first take place. When the thought function hits the object, the first to take place is the wheeling to be removed. Wheeling is called as avarana. Bhanga is a destruction. Destruction of the avarana, destruction of the wheeling does not take place. If there is not too much of light, how do you see the snake? That is what he is explaining. If there is a kind of darkness, then though the thought function travels through the sense organ, it does not have the ability to break the wheeling, the cover of ignorance, the sheath of ignorance. Itham. This way, avarana bhanjaka vritti samsarge satyapi yada doshehi rajvam avarana bhango na jayate tada adhisthana bhuta rajjo avachinna chaitanya nishtha vidyayam kaschana vikshepo jayate. Beautiful. Now, though, listen to this, though the thought function is capable of, only the thought function is capable of removing the wheeling, removing the cover of ignorance. Only the thought function is capable. Nothing else is capable of removing the ignorance sheath. Still, though this thought function exists, still, yada doshaihi rajwa, because of the defects, because of the light defect, because of the eyesight defect, because we saw two aiding causes. To gain the knowledge of rope, we need two aiding causes, supporting cause. One is the eyesight, the other is the light. When there is any defect in this, when the light is not proper or the eyesight is not proper, whichever is not proper, then because of that defect, rajvabha abarna bhango na jayate, the covering of ignorance, the sheath of ignorance does not get destroyed. Vritti is not with the becomes incapable to remove that ignorance. Only if it removes the ignorance, the vritti will engulf it. Now it is incapable of removing the ignorance. What happens? Vritti goes and hits, not capable of removing the ignorance. What is going to happen? It is going to come up with a plan. What is that plan? Beautiful. See this. Tada! At that point of time, because it is not able to remove the ignorance sheath. Because of that, tada! Adhisthana bhuta. What is the substratum? What is substratum? Substratum is a rajju. This rope. The substratum, which is rope is covered by ignorance, right? That is what we are not able to, our thought function is not able to remove. So, rajju avachinna chaitanya nishtha vidya. We are not going to say the ignorance of rope, the ignorance covering rope. Remember this. It's a very important point. He's explaining it in a beautiful way. If I'm going to just translate it, I'll just have to say this. But understanding this is important. There is the substratum. Adhisthana means substratum. Substratum is rajju, rope. And I have the ignorance of rope. That is why I'm seeing the snake. So I just have to say the ignorance which exists in the rope, which I'm not able to break through. I just have to say. But wait. Where does the ignorance exist? Where does the ignorance exist? Where? Where? I have explained it again and again. The ignorance, object and ignorance, substratum is a not rope. Remember properly. Okay, I'll explain with this example again. There is darkness in that room. There is darkness in that room. What is that darkness objectifying, and where is the darkness? What is the substratum of darkness? Which room? This room or that room? That room is the substratum for darkness, and that room, the darkness of that room objectifies means covers, blinds whatever is in that room. It does not illuminate anything in that room. So where is the ignorance? Ignorance cannot be on the rope. Rope is an inert thing. How can something be associated with ignorance? Rope cannot be associated with ignorance. I, Jiva, cannot be associated directly with ignorance. Where is the ignorance? What is the substratum? What is the object of ignorance? We kept repeating this again and again many times. What is the substratum? What is the object of ignorance? The substratum and the object of ignorance is the consciousness itself. Nothing other than consciousness is the substratum and object of ignorance. Nothing other than consciousness, you can call anything a substratum or object of ignorance. Substratum and object is consciousness itself for ignorance. That is why Nirvana, he says, Samshep Sharika, he says, Ashrayatva Vishayatva Bhagini Nirvagachitireva Kevala. Ashrayatva Vishayatva Bhagini. Ashrayatva as a substratum and Vishayatva as an object, the Nirvibhaga, unattributed consciousness, it's only is the object and the substratum, nothing else. So where does the ignorance exist? Where does the ignorance exist? Now again, consciousness, not on the rope. Not on the rope. Where does the ignorance exist? On the consciousness. Okay. And when I say flower exists, this flower is, okay. When I say flower is, what does that mean? When I say flower is, it has association with the existence. And existence is nature of a consciousness self. So instead of saying flower is a, can I say flower associated consciousness? Flower associated consciousness. Only because of flower associated consciousness, you can see the flower. If flower, any object here in this world, any object that has existence is associated with consciousness. Any object that exists in the world is associated with consciousness. The object, Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya, I'll call it. Vishaya, object, associated consciousness. Okay. The seer, Pramatra Avachinna Chaitanya, seer, associated consciousness. The sense organ, Pramana Avachinna Chaitanya, sense organ associated consciousness. So, whatever object you see, everything has associated consciousness. Okay. Now, my sense organ are going where? To the rope. And where is the ignorance on the rope? Where is the ignorance now? Where is the ignorance now? My sense organ are going to see the object. To see the object. But it is not able to break the veiling, the covering, the sheath of ignorance. So if it has to become something, it can be only caused by ignorance. So this ignorance I am not able to break. Where does this ignorance exist? Ignorance can exist only in consciousness. And where is this consciousness associated with? With the rope. You understand? Ignorance can exist only in consciousness, because the substratum and object for ignorance is consciousness. It is not going to objectify your rope. Ignorance is a very smart one. It is not worried about your rope, etc. It is only worried about the consciousness. So ignorance has as its substratum consciousness, and that consciousness is associated with the objects, rope, cloth, etc. Okay. So what I want to see the object, but that object, which now is the rope, is associated with the consciousness, which is in turn the substratum for the ignorance. You see, there is rope. Any object is associated with consciousness, right? Rope is associated with consciousness, right? So, and the ignorance can exist only on the consciousness. Ignorance can objectify only consciousness. Ignorance can have substratum only as consciousness. So object and substratum for ignorance is not anything else. It is only the consciousness. It is targeting only the consciousness. Okay. See, the rope has consciousness, association, and the ignorance is covering that, is associated with that, has that consciousness as substratum. Rope, associated consciousness, which has association with the ignorance. That is what he says. Rajju avachinna chaitanya, consciousness associated the object. Rajju avachinna chaitanya means consciousness associated with object. Simple, forget about this. Simple. When we say jiva, what do we call jiva? What is jiva? Avidya associated consciousness. Remember that. Avidya associated consciousness is jiva. So now rope associated consciousness is what we are seeing. Simple. Rope associated consciousness. Okay. Now that consciousness has a ignorance. That is why he says nishtha avidya. The avidya existing in that consciousness, which is associated with the rope. Avidya existing in the consciousness, because it has substratum only as consciousness. Consciousness is substratum for ignorance. Avidya existing in the consciousness, which is associated with the rope. Avidya existing in consciousness, which is associated with the rope. Translated. Understand, try to understand. Avidya existing in consciousness, which is associated with the rope. Ignorance existing in consciousness, which is associated with rope. Okay? Now, the rope is not doing anything. The consciousness cannot do anything. Neither rope nor consciousness can do anything. But ignorance can do anything. So, now come to the point. Kaschana vikshepo jayate. That ignorance, in that ignorance, there is some disturbance. There can be no disturbance in the rope. There can be no disturbance in the Chaitanya, consciousness. But there can be disturbance in the ignorance. It is prone to disturbance. It either creates disturbance or it itself is a disturbance or undergoes disturbance. Okay. So, now, where is the disturbance taking place? In the ignorance. Where is the ignorance? In the consciousness. What kind of consciousness? Consciousness associated with rope. Right? Disturbance in the ignorance. Ignorance existing in consciousness. That consciousness associated with rope. Ignorance existing in consciousness associated with the rope is disturbed. Ignorance existing in consciousness associated with the rope is disturbed. Ignorance existing in consciousness associated with the rope is disturbed. Which is disturbed now? Not rope, not consciousness. Ignorance is disturbed. And where is the ignorance? In the consciousness. What kind of consciousness? That which is associated with the rope. Okay? So, that ignorance, when it gets disturbed, what happens? Tada sa avidya sarpakarena parinamate. That ignorance transforms itself into snake. That ignorance transforms itself into the snake. The rope does not transform itself into snake. The thought function becomes incapable of breaking the ignorance. Therefore, it plays along with the ignorance. And because the ignorance transforms itself into snake, the ignorance, what kind of ignorance? The ignorance which has its substratum as consciousness. Where does the consciousness? That which is associated with the rope. That ignorance transforms itself into snake. Okay? Now, sacha avidya karyabhutah sarpah yadi sansya. Now, he is going to go into why do we call it as a inexplicable. Why do we call it as inexplicable? He is going to explain that. We will not rush through this. So, we will understand the thought function goes through the mind, transforms into thought function, goes through the sense organ and breaks the wheel of ignorance and becomes transformed into the object. What? The thought function transforms itself into the object. That is how we understand the object. But when the mind transforms itself into thought function and travels outside to the object and becomes incapable of breaking the wheeling, breaking the ignorance, then that ignorance which has as its substratum the consciousness which is associated with the rope transforms. Okay, we'll see this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.